Okay, but obviously, like, white people are, like, more privileged.
How?
Like, white privilege.
How?
Are you, like, trying to say that, like, white people are, like, oppressed or something?
I'm trying to say that white people cannot say certain things in public and blacks can, so that's an advantage for the blacks. That's a racial privilege. Now,
Okay, but,
show
like,
me the white
white
racial
people in
privilege.
general have a lot more, like, advantages.
Okay, show me one. Give me one real world example of white people having an advantage over blacks.
Okay, but I'm
That's
just
in the law.
saying, like, if it's for you, oh yeah, it's just wet, then it shouldn't be that, like, difficult. You should just, like, not say it
Hang
because you're
on a
just some, like,
second.
white
I'm asking
cis
you to give me
guy.
an example. Give me one example where whites are privileged.
I mean, like, for example, like, slavery and stuff like that. Like,
Hang
obviously,
on a
like, black people are,
second.
like, oppressed.
Slavery
Like,
happened
are
300
you
years
trying?
ago. Give me one example today, right now.
Well, obviously, it's probably, like, still happening. But, like, are you
I'm not
trying to, like,
hearing an
deny that,
example.
like,
Give me an
that's
example.
not really, like, what this is about. I'm just
Oh, so now
saying
that's not
you
what this is
shouldn't say the
about. So now you
N-word.
want to get out of the example because you can't give me one. See, that's the problem with you people is you say these things that you can't prove.
With what people?
You leftist
What
anti-white,
do you mean with you people?
you leftist anti-white fucking assholes who come around and try to guilt trip white people.
Anti-white.
You're anti-white because you're going around saying white people have privilege and you can't prove it.
Oh my god, you're fucking delusional, man.
Well, I'm
Like,
delusional, but you can't provide me with the
what,
proof
are you
of
also
your
like pro-life and
claims.
like homophobic or
So
something?
you're diverting the topic again. I would just want you to give me one example that whites have an advantage over black people. I give you an example. I said black people can say
Okay,
nigger, and I can't say nigger in public without getting punished for it, so that means I'm less privileged.
okay, for example, like black people being like fucking shot at just because of like the color of their skin. Like, I
Whoa.
think that's a pretty good
Whoa, whoa,
example.
whoa. You're saying black
Like,
people have been shot at because of the color of their skin. Now, give me an example of that.
George Floyd.
Okay, so you think George Floyd, well, one, he wasn't shot. Two, he wasn't killed because he's black. Prove to me that he was killed because he's black.
Do you like,
Police
that's
brutality does
literally,
police brutality does not automatically mean it's because of race. Okay? Police brutality can happen to white people, and it does happen to white people. You just don't hear about it because the media doesn't care. But tell me, show me how that cop was racist. Prove it. Did he say
okay, but
something
like,
racist? Did he call him the nigger? No. Did he ever call black people nigger? No, never. They didn't prove that in the court. No evidence in court that he was a racist. None. So how's it race? The cop could have been black and done that. And black cops have killed blacks. Are you going to say that blacks hate other blacks? When a black guy kills a white guy, do I assume it's because he hates white people?
maybe, I don't know.
But why would I assume that? You're assuming racial motives. Shouldn't why would I assume when someone kills somebody else that they did it
It
because
was
of race?
literally like all over the news. Like, what are you even talking about, man?
It was all over the news does not prove the cop's a racist. You have to show me that he hated black people
Okay,
and that he's
anyways,
no, not anyways. You cannot prove that cop's racist. You want to assume things about white people because you're biased against whites, right?
I'm literally white
Yeah, and
myself,
you are
okay?
biased against whites. You're white and you have self-hatred and guilt for being white. And
What?
you make assumptions about white people. You think if a white
I
cop,
make assumptions about white people while
yeah,
I'm literally white, okay?
just being white does not mean you don't assume things about white people. You've been conditioned to do so. You just fucking did it. You just fucking did it. You just said that the
Okay,
guy who killed
well, you're
Floyd is a racist because he's white. Not because he said anything racist, not because they proved he's a racist, just because he's white. That's an
I
assumption.
never said it was because he was white.
That you said he killed a black guy and that's it. That's your proof that he's a racist.
Oh my god. That's literally, you're like trying to fucking like gaslight me or something because that's not even what I fucking
I'm
said.
so it's gaslighting to demand proof of somebody making an assumption about a white cop?
Oh my god, you're literally doing it again.
You
No,
cannot
you're literally like
you
changing what I fucking
you
said.
literally can't even give me one example of white privilege, and your example is George Floyd, and I told you that there's no evidence that that was racially motivated.
Okay.
So what's another example? Do black people kill other black people?
Literally an example is just that like black people are like probably like one of like the biggest like oppressed groups. Like what are you even trying to like prove?
Is LeBron James oppressed? Michael
How
Jackson?
the fuck am I supposed to know what that is?
LeBron James is an NBA basketball player who's a billionaire. What about Michael Jackson? What about all these black rappers? What about all these black movie stars? What about all these black comedians? You know, where's the oppression? If there were oppression, there would be zero black people in Hollywood. There'd be zero black people in the NBA. There'd be zero black presidents. Barack Obama was black. He became the American president. That's impossible if there's oppression. If there is true oppression of blacks systematically, there would be zero successful black people. Why would there be? If they're holding blacks back, there would be no blacks in Yale University or Harvard. They wouldn't be able to get in, but they do get in. There's no oppression. You're just assuming because they fail, because a lot of blacks do poorly in life, that they're oppressed. No, they're just incompetent.
Okay.
So why do you assume that they're oppressed? You can't show me that there's any law anywhere in the West that specifically targets black people.
What
Right?
do you mean law?
Like there used to be,
Just general racism.
well, for example,
Like you.
yeah, but me being a racist does not mean that the law is racist, right? So that doesn't prove
So
anything.
you're like admitting you're like a fucking racist.
Yeah, but that doesn't prove that the law is racist. Now, if the law was racist and said black people can't do this, black people cannot be the president, black people can't be doctors, then you'd have a point, but you don't have that point because it doesn't exist anywhere. Show me one country that has laws against blacks.
Did you have like a very like messed up childhood or something?
See, that's a diversion. You're doing some bullshit gaslighting yourself. Because you can't address my points.
Okay, well, what is your point?
My point is black people are not systematically oppressed. There's no laws that prevent black people from doing anything that they want. They just don't accomplish as much as other people because they can't, because they're not as skilled as other people. So what? You know, it's like saying that white people are oppressed because white people don't win the 100-meter race in the Olympics and only black people win that race. That doesn't mean white people are oppressed. That just means whites are
So
not
are
as
you
fast.
saying that like way more racism against white people than black people? Is that what you're trying to say or something?
Well, I can give you examples of that. Yeah,
Of racism against white people?
absolutely. For example,
Okay, then give me an example.
the mayor of Chicago, she came out and said that she's not going to give interviews to white journalists, and she's a sitting politician.
Okay, well, where's proof? Where's evidence?
Well, her name is Lori Lightfoot.
Okay, well,
Her name is Lori
what?
Lightfoot, and she said, I don't give interviews to white journalists. She's black. She's a politician. She's in power in Chicago right now. That's racism, right? You can show that in many universities they skip over white people to submit blacks and minorities. So they've done studies where they look at college admissions and they find that white people with higher GPAs don't get in, and black people with lower GPAs get in disproportionately, which means that they're doing racial privileging and biased admissions. They've actually, some white people have sued Yale University for that, and some Asians as well. What about all the big companies saying they're like Google, for example? Now Google came out and said they let people identify their business as black owned, and they advertise on Google services that this is a black owned business, and they said they're doing this because they're trying to promote black businesses, but they don't let you say that this is a white business. And they all these big companies are saying they're going to hire black people, like 20% more black people every year because of the George Floyd. Isn't that biased? Isn't that privileging?
Privileging for who?
For black people. They say we're going to hire more black people. 20% more just because they're black.
So you're gonna deny that literally, like, probably, like there's, like, way more racism against, like, black people than pretty much, like, anyone else, like...
Well, that's not happening anymore. That's not happening anymore. That may have happened, like...
Says who?
That may have happened, like, 60 years ago, and they actually did have laws
so you
against
think,
black people.
like, racism just disappeared?
It disappeared in the legal system, yes. It did not disappear.
Okay, so, like, where do you live? In, like, fucking...
Dude, I just proved to you, you can't show me one law that discriminates against black people.
Why is it about, like, a law?
Because that is the system. When they talk about systemic, they mean system, meaning law, meaning government. But if you cannot show me that there's a law saying black people can't do something, then there's no systemic oppression. It's just like people happen to be biased and do biased things, but it's not the government doing that. It's just individuals doing that, right? Or maybe like a business. Maybe like if a business put up a sign that says no black people allowed in this business. First of all, they've actually made laws making that illegal. In the U.S., if you put up a sign that says no black people can come into my store, they'll fucking sue you and shit.
Yeah, no shit.
So that's the complete opposite of bias. I mean, they have laws making it illegal to be biased. So what are you smoking? And I don't agree with those laws, by the way.
Are you also like a fucking Nazi or something?
It wouldn't matter if I were a Nazi, right? If what I'm saying is true, then it's true.
Okay, so why did you put the interest Germany?
I don't know. I just put different countries. See different people. But you think white people are privileged. You know, I question that. If white people are so privileged, then, you know, why is it that you go to London, England, and half the people are brown? Why is it you go to Los Angeles or you go to New York City?
What does that have to do with privilege? Like, why privilege?
Because if white people were truly privileged, meaning they had the power advantage, they wouldn't be allowing their country to be flooded by non-white immigrants, would they? You wouldn't expect to see that.
So are you, like, anti-immigrant too, or what?
Well, let's just say that I am. It doesn't really matter. I'm just making the point that if white people had power, like you think that they do, then why are they allowing immigrants? That doesn't make any sense. So if the people who are in power are racists...
What you're saying doesn't make sense.
No.
What are you even talking about?
Because if the people in power right now are white people and they have racial preference for other white people, they wouldn't be allowing such massive immigration to their country. America's only 60% white.